What?
A couple of years of my life I did. I'm telling you, it's one of the best things you can ever do. 30, I think. Seconds. Do you ever do it? You never do it?
No. Kids do it. Some of the kids, I have kids.
You should. It's a very good thing to do. I think
When you got there, I'll get my diary back.
I've done something wrong. Yeah, what have I done? Oh. We're already actually streaming.
You need to have a pretty sad life. Otherwise, there's going to be no point in doing it.
I'd never let anybody beat it with me.
I'm saying like that's like
I don't want
right,
to shit on a very, very special woman, Eve Khan. Don't you know Eve Khan?
Yeah.
You knew her? How do you
I
know?
know her, but also she famous for the.
I went to her shiva. They were sitting reading her diaries.
Not the one famous from the Holocaust.
No.
She was Anthony Khan's wife.
No, I leave Khan's wife.
Power cut.
Yeah, that's
Very new.
Not anymore. They fixed it.
The lights there,
Dude, this is still stuck. I know. How can a shoe work on that? It's all the same. Yeah.
Why is it making tonight? Always.
Big size, big to see. I've just been going to with my winter. I've been to Blackpool Elimination.
What's this?
I went yesterday. You enjoyed it?
What is that? Oh, you went skiing?
It's not worth the.
Sledging.
So just
Where is it?
enjoy
20
it,
minutes
so that's
away.
all that counts.
Amazing.
I went before,
Proper
it's a
thick
nice
snow.
spot.
If the snow doesn't come to you, you go to it.
No, don't stay away from it, Manchester.
Nuchan, what does it mean? Yomi kol asvikin muton, asu and mistrike baisas muton. What's that mean?
Pass. Machlokas.
No.
Sorry.
What does that mean? Yomi kol asvikin muton, asu and mistrike baisas muton. What does that mean? What's the expression?
What's a suki?
Oh, very full. So what svikin are matzahs which are designed.
Oh, design.
They'll say that all matzahs which are designed are also, except for those which are mutter. So people come to them with mistake and they get confused. So if you want to say that we don't split hairs, instead of using the expression "let's not split hairs," you'll say "Yomu kol asvikin mutar asu and mistrike baisas mutar."
It's only being design on this. Like, were you getting it unnaturally, or are you adding something on top of it?
That's machniks to show you.
Yeah. If you added something on top of that, I mean, what would you?
But the problem is,
How could you add something on top of it?
I make a flat and then afterwards put on it some more dough to design it. That way you'll know that it's not.
Firecrackers now, they say anything round or.
Yes. Well, our crackers now these have designs, no? No. Okay, so I'm really sorry, I've forgotten the name. This should be as a for Shlema for Avon. Listen, Ben. Tova b'seich shar kol chaydi. So let me just get better for Shlema to this. Nagefa. Okay. Ma'aser Sheni. I'm going to talk quite a bit about Ma'aser Sheni. So let's get it clear. What is Ma'aser Sheni? Right, so you get produce. Oh, I'm on mute. I wonder why
It defaults to mute.
Yeah, why does it default to mute?
It's all the controversial stuff to say before you start.
They know that muted is.
Yehuda, can you hear me?
It's like Twitter. Anything Trump tweets is like this is.
Can you text Yehuda if I think I'm unmuted now?
Never seen that with anyone else.
Text. I don't think I'm muted anymore. Yeah, my texting again. Can you hear? Oh, it looks like it's on. It looks like. Oh, no, maybe not. Just check that.
Yeah, we're suppressing.
What does it mean, Moshe? Yevu kol asvikin asu and mistrike baisas mutar. We said, what does it mean? We said to you they should know it. It's to do with the fact that we don't split hairs.
He can hear, but you can't hear it. Yeah.
I can hear, you can't hear me.
Yeah.
Why can't I hear him? Okay.
Yeah, he's not because you muted him.
But okay, fine.
Are we good or what?
Yes, we're good. We're very good.
My face on YouTube.
We've been on YouTube for about 5 minutes.
We can't hear. We have to understand. We can't hear the people. They're not giving the shit.
You know why I can't hear them?
But it's fine. We're getting late.
Well, yeah, it's getting late.
Okay. Fair enough.
Can't turn the volume up or turn the hearing aid.
I don't know.
Okay, he's muted himself on purpose.
Does anyone like to
Okay.
muted Coke?
Maisa Sheni. Maisa Sheni is like this. You have produce, you took Truma, you took Maisa Vishan, you take Maisa Sheni, you take it to Yerushalayim. What's the halachas of Maisa Sheni? Thank you, Levi. Where do you eat Maisa Sheni? Only in Yerushalayim. Who does Maisa Sheni belong to? Oh, Machlekes between who and who?
Yours or Hashem?
Very good. Yours or Hashem. Rameir of Yehuda. According to Rameir, very good. According to Rameir, it's Hashem's. Only Hashem's allowing you to eat it. According to Yehuda the Chachamim, well, who does it belong to? It belongs to you. Wait a second. Everybody agrees with the halachas are the same. That means everybody agrees you can only eat in Yerushalayim and only when you're toy. Machlekes is only, can you eat it? It doesn't belong to you, it doesn't belong to Hashem. The Gemara said 3 nafkaminas yesterday between Rameir and the Chacham. What's the 3 nafkaminas? 3 mitzvahs that there has to belong to you. What are the 3 mitzvahs that belong? Then was mentioned Kedushin. Challah, very good. Matzah, another one you should all know. Esrog. Challah, matzah, and esrog. So again, if I take challah from a dough, which doesn't belong to me, let's say it's Ma'aser Sheni dough. If I make a dough Ma'aser Sheni, do I have to take challah?
No.
Machlekes. According to a mayor that says that belongs to Hashem, no, because if the Torah says Veishasavi Soisechem, your dough, it's not my dough. According to a Chachamim, you do. Can I use Ma'aser Sheni for an esrog? Can I use Ma'aser Sheni for an esrog? Say machlekes. If you say Ma'aser Sheni belongs to Hashem, you can't use it for. Can I use matzah Ma'aser Sheni? Say machlekes, because the halach is matzah has to belong to you. Says the Gemara. Let's see the Gemara inside. Maskiflo proper. That's 6 lines from the top. I agree with you with the challah. Why? It has to be yours. The dough has to be yours. If it's not your dough, let's say I go to your house and I take some flour and water, make a dough. Do I have to take challah without permission? No, it's not mine, so I can't do it. Lochem mishelachem yehei. Does the Torah anywhere say that the matzah has to belong to you? Does the Torah ever say that matzah has to belong to you? No, it doesn't say matzah. So how do you know it? No, don't learn from us. We learn from challah. Do it. Rosh lechem lechem, ksivocha lechem oini, uksivosam voyoch lechem milechem haaretz, malahalom mishelochem, afkan mishelochem. So matzah has to belong to you. And I mentioned it very briefly yesterday, and I looked it up again today, and I'm telling you this is a very big shayla. Yes, if you buy your matzah and you don't pay the seller, according to some poskim, you've not been yotze your mitzvah matzah. Oh, what about your kids? Let's go slowly. Well, slowly. Oh, David, that's a very important question. Bit by bit. Let's go slowly. The Torah says matzah has to be yours. How do you know matzah has to be yours, by the way? So it has to be yours. So if, for example, I steal matzah, can I be yotze the mitzvah? No. That's clear. Now, what about if I don't steal it, but you invite me to be by you? Can I eat the matzah? Am I yotze the mitzvah or matzah? Right. You can't give a matzah on Yom Tov. And you can't say to me that before Yom Tov you gave it to him because we don't know which one matzah it is. So we actually discussed it, and he says there are 2 main reasons why it's okay. One, he says that anything which you give a person to eat is obviously something which is going to be his. That means when you give him a lulav and esrog, since he's not going to eat the lulav, him, so therefore you have to have kavanah to give it to him. By matzah, you don't need kavanah to give it to him. The fact that you're giving the matzah away, that is obviously you are saying to him that's completely his. Which Eruv? Because Eruv don't actually eat it. Eruv don't actually eat it.
You mean you can eat it,
You don't.
It's not chiyuv to you.
Yes.
Can you get on your 11 on Thursday? Yom Tov? What are you doing there?
The answer is because he's not going to eat it. So therefore, not necessarily giving it to him. Could we just ask it, giving him to admire?
If you're shaking the love for the mitzvah.
So that's the second svor. It brings a relationship that there's a Rosh in Kedushin that somebody came to us, another person, and said, "Can I borrow your ring to Mekadosh and Isha?" And he borrowed the ring, was Mekadesh Nisha. And then what happened was, there was a question as to whether the Kedushin is Chal. So the Rosh says, yes, it is, because everybody knows that after Mekadesh Nisha has to belong to you. So obviously, when you're asking somebody, can I borrow the ring to Mekadesh Nisha, you mean that. So Rashi says it would only work if your host is a Talmud Chacham. If your host is not a Talmud Chacham, you might not know that matzah. Not many people don't know. Everybody knows that Esrog has to belong to you. Everybody says, but matzahs people not so.
He's giving the ring away though.
Oh, so I just point out yesterday was somebody who got married, and the ring hadn't yet been paid for on the day of the chuppah, and the owner of the ring. Guess how much a wedding ring costs? How much do you think a wedding ring costs?
£100.
I thought £100. I thought £60. This ring cost £270.
Where's the bank from?
I don't know. I was very surprised.
That's
good luck. Anyway, the seller said, you haven't paid, it's no good. So I said to the seller, you're demanding for no reason. There's a Rosh not like you. And I showed him the Rosh. So he said, the Rosh is talking about a normal case. Here I've already asked for the money. Once I've asked for the money, could be the Rosh would agree that you have to pay. In fact, no, he quickly went to pay. So the Beis, what happens like this, one should be aware that the Rashi himself writes this, that you should pay with cash, not with a check for your matzahs. Because if the check hasn't gone through, if in money goes through, it depends how long before Pesach you're buying it.
Most of them only take cash.
Okay, now there's a very interesting thesis. Tesis says, a very interesting svov Tesis, Tesis says like this, that Tevel, you're not allowed to be Yotzer, your matzah with Tevel, right? Or your lulav and esrog with Tevel. And we have a special drosha by matzah that you can't, because only something which is osa as chometz, something which is awesome, because you haven't taken too much of maisvus, Tesis. That the Gemara in Sukkah, if anybody chaps this, they should be very happy. It's a chap Tesis, a beautiful Tesis. The Gemara in Sukkah tells us, can you use an esrog of tevel for your Arba Minim? Can you? Let's say you've got an esrog, I'm taking two samaisis. Can I use it for my Arba Minim?
No, you're not going to it.
It's not yours, it's not yours. Why is it not yours, by the way? Because in the esrog, this is my esrog. 10% belongs to the Levi. You are Levi. No, who's a Levi? Somebody was a Levi one day.
Sure. No, Sully.
Okay, Sully just got. He's actually on 9. Sully gets 10%. The Kohen gets 1%. Oh, Sully says me, right? So what happens is this esrog, does it belong to me? No. Only fractionally belongs to me. The good chelik it doesn't belong to me. So therefore, can I shake it for sukkahs? No, because it's not mine. For cases, if that's the case, by matzah, why did we have a drosha by matzah to say that you can't use tevel matzah? We had a special drosha. I'll tell you why you can't use tevel matzah, because it's not yours. Since it's not yours, so therefore you don't need a special drosha to tell you that you can't use tevel matzah. Obviously you can't, it's not yours. Why by Abba Minim do we not need a drosha? Because we say it's not yours. And by matzah, we say you need a special drosha. The difference. Can I just say very briefly, because it makes it a bit more complicated than I thought. By matzah, Tisa says this for, the V says this for. By matzah, if I've got a big matzah, so let's say only 50% or 80% belongs to me, because 20% has to go to me. I'm yotzer with eating 80% of it, because at the end of the day, as long as we eating it, it's okay. But by an esrog, since part belongs to the Kohen, part belongs to the Levi, so therefore it's not mine. And you need a shalom, so it's not going to be.
Yeah, how do you know which part of the 80%?
So what? The fact is, if we wouldn't have a drasha that tevel is no good for matzah, we would say to ourselves like this, that when you eat matzah, it's true that it's not completely yours, but let's say only 80% yours, still yours. Okay. So again, now there's another very nice shtickle from, again, the very nice say from Masehos, it's Pesachim. It says like this. There's a famous Vilna Gaon. What's the famous Vilna Gaon on Pesach, which everybody likes to say? What's the famous Vilna Gaon? Every day my children dash it, not every day, but Gaon says that even though Minatay only mechuyev to eat matzah first night, but every day they eat matzah on Pesach, you mekayim a mitzvah. It's big machlok. Nobody agrees with the Gaon. I have to say most don't. I can't say most. A lot of people don't agree. The Gaon says every time you have a slice of matzah on Pesach, you eat mitzvah. Says the Gaon, therefore, you shouldn't eat matzah Shiur, because you're wasting a mitzvah. Let's say you take matzah and you make out of it, you crumble it up, and you make what they call cleansing, what they call the matzah pie. Since matzah, you can't use it for Seder night because it's matzah Shiur. So you're wasting a mitzvah, says the Gaon. For the same price, you could just as well eat a plain slice of matzah and afterwards eat an egg. By mixing the two together, you've lost yourself a
He's
mitzvah.
not eating matzah though. He's not eating matzah. Who cares what form it is?
But because
you have to eat it in
the mitzvah is to eat matzah. That's not anymore matzah. It's not chametz. It's not matzah.
Matzah though.
It's not. It's matzah Shiur. It's not normal matzah. Just say you can't. If it's real matzah, why can't you use it to Seder night?
For what? For the actual mitzvah.
Yeah.
Mitzvah you can't, but
Why not? Why not? Because the Torah says eat lechem oidi. It's not lechem oidi. It's not considered lechem oidi. Okay. Let's get on. I just want to say this. He says, so if it comes out on Pesach, you should make an effort to eat plain matzah if you can. It says, but actually like this. If let's say you're a guest by somebody's house, he'll not be thinking to himself, I'll be maknet to you the matzah. Why? Because he knows that you don't need it. Because at the end of the day, the whole chiyuv to eat your matzah is only Leila Seder. So therefore, he's not being maknet. You haven't got the svor of the Rosh and Kedushin that everybody knows you want to help people to do a mitzvah, you're maknet to them. So the rest of Pesach, when you're eating matzah, he doesn't care if it belongs to him. He's just letting you eat. So then says he should ask him as a special favor to be kohen of the matzah. Because if you're not kohen of the matzah, you will be mekamitz of the matzah, because matzah has to be yours. And you can't say that logically he's giving it to you, because at the end of the day, that's why you say that, because he wants to be kind mitzvah. But the rest of Pesach, since you don't need to this mitzvah, so therefore the whole... That's right. So when you eat matzah the rest of Pesach, it's even more important to ask the host to be maknet to you. Is it clear? Yeah. It's an interesting svor. Very interesting. Okay. Says the Gemara like this. Lema Messiah. Let's say we've got to support this idea. Isa Shemaisa Sheni P'tur Min HaChala. Now Maisa Sheni is potter from Chala to V'Amir. So you see, that's the machlekas, because Maisa Sheni is machlekas that belongs to you. Not that's machlekas. So Lema Messiah, Lema Messiah means I find a proof to you. If I find a brayso that says exactly the same thing, that's not Messiah. That is a repetition. So since he talks about three things. What were the three things he talked about? Who was it? Rav Asi. What were the three things Rav Asi talked about? Matzah, challah, and arba minim. Now this brayso of the three, which one does the brayso talk about? Challah. So the Gemara wants to say, that just like the brayso says they're arguing about challah, who adin, they would also argue regarding matzah and arba minim. Says the Gemara, since they're arguing about Maisa Sheni of Chala, they would also argue about Maisa Sheni of Arba Minim and of Matzah. Maybe by Chala it says twice, therefore it has to be completely yours. But by Arba Minim and by Matzah it doesn't say yours twice, and therefore Rashi explains there are different levels of yours. For example, there's yours, which is something which is completely not yours. Is if I go into your house and I steal your Esther, that's definitely not mine. Or I steal a matzah, that's definitely not mine. So then we agree that taki is not yotzah. But let's say, for example, I give you a slice of matzah. I say to you, it's not yours, but you can eat it. So that's already a much higher level of yours, because at the end of the day, you could do whatever you want with it. You could eat it, you could throw it away, you could do whatever you want with it. So therefore, you might have thought that regarding Seder night, it's good enough as long as it's not stolen, but as long as you've got permission. And if that would be the case, Maisa Sheni, where you're allowed to eat it, even if it's Mom and Gavoya, you would be allowed to be yotzah your matzah. Why? Because since the Torah doesn't say your bread twice, it only says it once, you darshan, only stolen bread can't be used for matzah, but bread which is actually yours, you can eat it. You're allowed to eat it. The fact that it's Mom and Gavoya, we shouldn't take it away. Kamash Malon, Rav Asi, the Afa Pikain, when it comes to Maisa Sheni, we're potter from matzah. Now we're going to have a shaila from Shimon ben Lakish. It's very important to have the Boshi Prokim, the headlines clear, and then afterwards it's very, very straightforward. Can you use matzah for Maisa Sheni? Can you or can you not? Anybody want to suggest? Yeah, you eat matzah for Sheni.
You can't use it.
Remember, only. Oh, I was about to say you're wrong, but you're right.
You can't avoid it. You can't be, because they're not speaking.
You've got to be able to eat it everywhere, because you've got to eat it.
You'll be kicking yourself in a minute. Again, matzah Maisa Sheni, can you use it for your Seder night? You went to Yerushalayim, you took your produce, you went to Yerushalayim. We said about 10 minutes ago. If it's Mom and Maisa Sheni or Maisa Gavur by Seder, But we had another machlokes, exactly the same question with different answers. You forgot it. It was 2 days ago. We keep on Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi said you can't because the Torah says lechem oini, bread that can be eaten ba'aninus. He reads the an as if it's an aleph. And Ma'aseh Sheni, you're not allowed to eat ba'aninus. Rabbi Kiva says yes, you're allowed to because it's not matzah shiva. The lechem oini means poor bread. Not. So there are 2 machlokes tanoim, 2 independent arguments regarding Ma'aseh Sheni. Let's get it very clear. If somebody would say to you, can I use Ma'aseh Sheni for my matzah? You'd say to him like this. You've got machlokes of men Rabbi Yehuda if Ma'aseh Sheni is Mammon Gevurah, Mammon Hedyot. So that's question number 1. That means according to Madam it's Mammon Gevurah, that belongs to Hashem, you can't use it. According to Madam it's Mammon Hedyot, then you could. But even according to the Madam it's Mammon Hedyot, you still can't. According to Rabbi Yossi, because he says lechem oini, food of which can be eaten with affliction, and therefore Ma'aseh Sheni you can't eat it when you're an oinan. So therefore you can't. And then finally you've got Rabbi Akiva that says, no, it doesn't matter. Now, can you use matzah of bikurim? What's the halacha? Can you use matzah of bikurim? Yes, you can. You've got 7 minim wheat. You take the wheat from bikurim, I give it to a kohen. What? So here Toli was shouting, B'chol mosh v'seichem, matzah has to be eaten everywhere. Bikurim can't be eaten everywhere. So the question, why was Tali wrong when he said B'chomosh v'seich regarding Ma'aseh Sheni? Oh, because you can be poida Ma'aseh Sheni. Can you actually be poida Ma'aseh Sheni? Or are you allowed to be poida Ma'aseh Sheni? Oh, but when you're in Yerushalayim, we're talking about somebody eating Ma'aseh in Yerushalayim. You can't go back. So why can you be poida it? The Gemara asked the question. What did the Gemara answer? Oh, close. Became Tommy. Again, let's get it clear. Bikurim, you can't use your matzah of bikurim. Why not? Because the Torah says b'chomosh v'yiseichem, and bikurim can only be eaten in Yerushalayim. So you're going to say to me, if that's the case, why did I just tell you a long machlokes, 2 machlokes regarding Ma'aseh Sheni? I should have just said to you the words b'chomosh v'yiseichem, Ma'aseh Sheni can't be used because it can't be eaten out of Yerushalayim. Answer: Ma'aseh Sheni can be eaten out of Yerushalayim. How? Can't take it out of Yerushalayim. Answer: if Ma'aseh Sheni becomes tomei, then you can redeem it to Yerushalayim, take it out of Yerushalayim, and then eat it wherever you want. So therefore, Ma'aseh Sheni potentially can be eaten anywhere. Bikurim can't. Why can't Bikurim? What happens to Bikurim if it comes tummy? Why can't you? You can't do anything with it. Bikurim if it comes tummy, you can't burn it. You can't eat it. You got to let it rot. So Ma'aseh Sheni potentially can be eaten anywhere. Bikurim can't. So if somebody would say to you, "Can I eat Bikurim matzahs in Yerushalayim?" What would you say to him? No, why not? Because you can't eat outside. Ma'aseh Sheni, I can't eat outside. Yes, you can potentially, if it would become tummy. And then if I would redeem it, and then if I would take it out to Yerushalayim, it would be okay. So therefore, potentially, it's got the ability to be eaten anywhere. Now that you got that all very clear, think about Rish Lakish's question. Rish Lakish is a brilliant chap. What happens if you take Ma'aseh Sheni? Again, I'm a wealthy person in Bnei Brak, millions of acres. I take 10% to Yerushalayim. I can't carry 10%. Unless I carry 10% to Yerushalayim, a lot of produce, 10% to Yerushalayim. I've got hundreds of kilos of flour. I make a dough. Can I use that dough for matzahs, by the way? No. Double machlokes. It depends if Ma'aseh Sheni Mammon Gevurah, Mammon Hedyot. That's machlokes number 1. Machlokes number 2. Lechem oini. Does oini mean can be eaten by aninos, or does oini mean poor man's bread? So double machlokes. Fine. Let's say we pass in Akan. So I take my matzah, the flour from Bnei to Yerushalayim, and make matzahs. But a portion of it I have to give to a kohen. That is challah of Ma'aseh Sheni. Can a kohen use the challah of Ma'aseh Sheni for his matzahs? Normal challah, can a kohen use it for matzahs? Yes. Why not? There's absolutely no problem. He's allowed to eat it everywhere. Challah can be eaten anywhere you want. And therefore, kohen is allowed to use challah. The challah of Ma'aseh Sheni can be used for matzahs. Right. Wait a second, well, at the time, Adinos we said we're not passing like that, man. We're passing like Rabbi Akiva, that oinin is not a problem.
You can only do Ma'aseh Sheni if it's tummy, and you can eat it outside.
And
so Kohen can't eat it anyways. He can't become tummy.
Why explain even better? No, because challah, if it becomes tummy, you got to destroy it. So if you think about it like this, if it would be challah, not Ma'aseh Sheni, it wouldn't be a problem. Why? Because challah can be eaten anywhere. If it would be Ma'aseh Sheni, not challah, it would also not be a problem. Because Ma'aseh Sheni, if it becomes tummy, it can be eaten outside everywhere. What? Why not? Yes, you can.
Even if it becomes tummy?
Yes, the kohen is allowed to become tummy. It's not allowed to become to be it's not allowed to become to be mace. So we're here, but if it's both challah and Ma'aseh Sheni,
so Ma'aseh Sheni makes a problem.
No, the two together. Each one together is a problem. If it would only be chal again.
Each on their own is not a problem.
That's it. Each of them is not a problem. Let's explain again once more. If it would just be chal, it's not a problem. Chal can be eaten anywhere. If it would just be ma'aser sheni, it would also not be a problem because ma'aser sheni, if it becomes tummy, can be deemed and eat it anywhere. But chal of ma'aser sheni, you can't take it out to Yerushalayim. Why can't I take it out to Yerushalayim? If it's toy, I'm not allowed to redeem it. I can't take it out to Yerushalayim. If it's tummy, well, it's chal of ma'aser sheni tummy. Chal of ma'aser sheni tummy. What do you do with it? You destroy it. So therefore, in such a case, you can't take it outside Yerushalayim. So it's promised for safer. Now, this shaila is not according to Beis that says lechem oini, because according to him, you anyway can't make matzahs because it can't be eaten by news. And it's not according to the man that matzah ma'aser sheni is momun gevoya, because according to him, you anyway can't make matzahs. But if you don't pass, that's right. According to Rabbi Akiva and according to Rabbi Yehuda, we would have a question regarding this challah. And what the Gemara discusses over here is the concept of hoyel. Hoyel meaning, theoretically, potentially speaking, this challah ma'aser sheni could be taken out of Yerushalayim. If it would not be challah, and if it wouldn't be ma'aser sheni, and if it would be tomei, I would be able to take it out of Yerushalayim. So therefore, potentially, it's got the ability to take it out of Yerushalayim. Bikurim has no such potential. The question is challah ma'aser sheni. That's the question over here. That's the question Shlokish asks. Let's look more inside. The place is Boyum Shim Monokish. It's about halfway down the page. By my Gemara, it's right next to the Tesis Oidilma. Boyum Shim Monokish. Ma'oshi Yetzi Adam Yidei Chavose. Can you use the matzah bechalo shel ma'aser sheni b'Yerushalayim? I leave it over here. Say Aglili that says lechem oini loiti polach. We have no question. Why not? Why couldn't it be Aglili? It's not a question.
Anyway.
You anyway can't. Hashta bechulin lo nafik bechalosim yiboya. Bechulin to be no good because he says lechem oini and you can't eat it by aninus. Ki tiboy lo chalibu du Rabbi Akiva, who says lechem oini just means a poor man's bread. Bechulin do nafik. Do the metame yesh l'netev b'mishavos. If it wouldn't be challah, it would be normal ma'aser sheni. I could go and eat it outside Yerushalayim. How? If it became tummy. If it becomes tummy less low, you could never take it out with this sefer Oslo. You're going to have to burn it low nofix. You can't even can it so matzah. We say hoyel. Shame. If you want to call it chali, you'd have left it as ma'aser sheni. Ve'itmi would become tummy. It's lo hetev b'mishavos. When nofik b'ashin, nofik. Maybe had you not chosen this particular piece to be challah, you'd have left it to be ma'aser sheni. And ma'aser sheni that becomes tomei, you can take it outside Yerushalayim. So therefore, there's potential to eat it anywhere. Now we're going to add one more tiny span, one more tiny connection. Very interesting. We are talking now about produce that you took to Yerushalayim. What happens if you live in Bnei Brak, you've got hundreds of kilos of flour, you can't schlep it to Bnei Brak. So what do you do with the flour? To money. The money you go to Yerushalayim and you buy flour. Now, what happens if that flour becomes tummy? Till now we talked about if you take the flour to Yerushalayim, it becomes tummy. What's the din if the flour becomes tummy? Redeem it to take it out. Ma'aser sheni that got to Yerushalayim and became tummy, you redeem it, take it out, and eat it any way you want. What happens if I take money to Yerushalayim and with the money I buy ma'aser sheni, and that becomes tummy? The logic would be I should redeem it and take it out, and indeed that's what the Chachamim hold. Rabbi Yehuda says not. Rabbi Yehuda says you can't. You can't redeem it and take it out, it becomes tummy. There's a question as to why not. One simple explanation is that when something's been gone through a few processes, it gets weaker and weaker, right? You take a stamp, you stamp on a piece of paper, they take a piece of paper and you cover it onto another piece of paper. Every time you lose their effect. So this, what happened was like this. You had ma'aser sheni in Bnei Brak, you redeemed it on money. The money you went and bought with it, ma'aser sheni produce. That ma'aser sheni produce became tummy. You want to redeem that to money, that doesn't work. The kedusha doesn't go so far. So you can't redeem it, and in fact, you can only eat it. You can't eat it at all because it's tummy. You can't eat it. So that's it. You've lost it. Again, you have what Yehuda says. Yehuda says you can't redeem it.
So that has the mitzvah of ma'aser sheni.
No, you did do ma'aser sheni, but you can admit, so you're just not able to eat it.
It's not his mitzvah.
It's not his mitzvah. So according to him, what would you say about ma'aser sheni, which was bought with money, and from that you want to make matzahs? Can you use it for matzahs or not?
Yes.
According to Yehuda. It's much worse. Why? Because till now we said, why is there no problem ma'aser sheni b'chomesh v'seichem? Before we said bikurim you can't use for matzah. Why? Because it's b'chomesh v'seichem. Ma'aser sheni you can because it's got the potential to take it out to Yerushalayim. How if it becomes tummy and then you redeem it, take it out to Yerushalayim. But this has been bought for money. And according to Yehuda, something bought for money can't be redeemed. So then you can't take it. Says the Gemara. There we say hoil. Kiti boilo chala lekoach b'kesef b'ayis sheni v'adibu to abon noiti boilo. Good one is not a shaila. Kivu domino mi poda hainu ma'aser simas ma'aser sheni. Kiti boilo chalibu to Yehuda. Doma yikove. He says you have to bury the ma'aser sheni becomes tomei. That's not the lekoach b'kesef b'ayis sheni shenitmo. Yipoda Yehuda mi yikove. You have to bury it. Minon. Do we say as follows? So again, I went from there. I could buy flour, too heavy to carry. Change it to money. Came to Yerushalayim. With the money I bought ma'aser sheni. With the ma'aser sheni I want to make matzahs to eat it. Now here I've got a problem with Chumash V'Seicha. So how can I get around it? To say like this: had I not bought it, but I would have taken the flour directly to Yerushalayim. And had I not chosen it to be a piece of challah, but rather I would have kept it for myself. I knew to come to me, I had to put my shabbos to take it out to Yerushalayim. Now also I can use it for matzah. Here the potential is very, very small. I took money of ma'aser sheni, bought flour. With the flour I made a dough. With the dough I made a portion, gave it to the kohen as challah. And now I want that challah to be matzah. The only way that could be eaten b'chomesh v'seichem is had I taken the original flour, not redeemed that money, and had I not chosen that piece to be challah for the kohen, but a different piece, then it would be able to be eaten b'chomesh v'seichem. So it's a double hoyel. Rava says the halacha is that ma'aser sheni in principle can be eaten anywhere. In principle it can. How? If it comes tummy and take it out to Yerushalayim. Even though this particular piece cannot be eaten everywhere, this particular piece can only be eaten in Yerushalayim, I don't care. So according to Rava, can you use ma'aser sheni challah for matzahs? According to Rava, can you use ma'aser sheni matzahs for challah? Yes, you can. Why? Because it doesn't say because of oil. Because the shame ma'aser. Must remember this. Will make it. Okay, let's go very, very briefly what we've learned because we're going to a new topic a little bit. Ma'aser sheni. Can you use ma'aser sheni for matzahs or not? A double machlokas. One machlokas depending if it's ma'aser mom and sheni, mom and givam, mom and hedyot. Because if it belongs to Hashem, you can't. Why not? Because the matzah has to be yours. How do you know matzah has to be yours? Lechem gzeir shava. Another shaila is ma'aser sheni. Do we say lechem oini? Two translations was lechem oini. Either you could eat it by ninus, which ma'aser sheni you can't, or poor man's bread. That's bikurim. Can you use bikurim for your matzah? Everybody agrees not because b'chomesh v'seichem. Regarding ma'aser sheni, which you took challah and all the rest, Rava says yes, you can because potentially there would be a method to be able to. Okay. If a person wants to make korban todah, he has to take matzahs, makes matzahs, and so to a nozer. Can you take the matzahs of the todah and the nozer seder night and use it for your matzah? Why can't you? Omar Rabba, Omar Kro, viciously called. How do you know? It's on Chesed Beis, top of the page. There's a special mitzvah to guard the matzahs. Matzah shmur. If you don't have matzah shmur, by the way, you can't be yotze seder night. You can be yotze the rest of Pesach. You can't be yotze seder night. And according to the Gaon, you will not be mekayem the mitzvah if you don't have shmur matzah. So matzah mishtameres l'shem matzah. It has to be matzah which guarded l'shem matzah. Yotzos l'shem mishtameres l'shem matzah. So this matzah which I made for korban lachmei todah, it's a kosher matzah. How do I know it's a kosher matzah? Because you're only allowed to use kosher matzahs for lachmei todah or for kikah nosim. But when I guarded it, I didn't guard it l'shem matzah. Why did I guard it? Because I want to make a korban. So therefore, it's no good. So yotzos l'shem matzah l'shem zevach. Right. But Yosef Omar, this got a different smell. Omar calls Shiva Sami Matzahs Techelu. Oh, I was waiting for someone to ask the question. I wasn't sure that to broach the topic. We'll leave it. We'll discuss this a little bit later. It's a question. It's a very good question. I learned this morning, somebody came out to me all worked up about this. You understand what's the question over here? You can't think two things. You've got korban over here. You want to make matzahs. You know it's Pesach in a few days' time. So you got to get the Shem korban todah and also what? No, I don't know if that's true. We'll see. No, because something else. Because you've got intention to. Okay. We'll see. Wait a second. Yosef Omar. We'll see later on. Yosef says, Omar calls Shiva Sami Matzahs Techelu. The simple translation of the pasuk is you should eat matzahs for 7 days. And there's another way to read the pasuk, and that is that matzahs have to be able to be eaten for 7 days. Not that you have to eat matzahs 7 days. The matzah has to be possibly eaten for 7 days. No. How has to be able to be eaten for 7 days. How long can you eat a Torah for or a milset for? How long are you allowed to eat matzahs of a Torah? A day and a night. And we're machmir till when? Only till chatzos lachis adon avil. So you're only allowed to eat it for a day and a night. So therefore, how can you use matzahs of lach Torah? Not like Rava. Rava said the reason is because you're not guarding the Shem mitzvah. We also says it's even worse than that. It's not because Pashtus, but maybe obviously trying to answer your questions. Why can't you have both? You're right, but over here, when you're guarding l'shem Torah, l'shem Nazir, how long are you going to be able to eat those matzahs for? A day and a half. And the Torah says, Shiva Sami matzahs teichelu, they have to be matzahs that can be eaten for 7 days. Can these matzahs be eaten for 7 days? No, can they be eaten for a day and a half?
Doesn't answer Ben's question.
Why not?
Still at the time, matzah for 7 days.
No, you can't.
Guarding it, no, because it's two different things.
Yeah, but you're guarding it also for your common Torah.
Okay, that's one day. I was always saying.
Yes.
No, but if you're guarding for your common Torah, so you're eventually going to bring it for your common Torah. Now you change your mind. But when you guarded the common Torah, what were you thinking? How long am I going to eat it for?
Common Torah plus matzah. The common
Yeah, that's not as bad though. You can't compare when you've got an intention. I went out and Torah and my matzahs to over here. When it's a Torah is detracting from the matzah because the Torah could only be eaten for a day and a half.
The last day of Pesach.
No, because it still can't be eaten for 7 days. The Torah can have been definition only eaten for a day and a half. You can't even be a common Torah on Pesach. Common Torah has 40 loaves, 10 of which are chametz. But in theory, it'll kick a nausea with the question. Yeah, Yosef Omar Kol Shiva Som Matzahs Techilu Matzah Necheles Shiva Somim. Yotzos Zu Shenecheles Shiva Somim Lo Yom V'Layla. This is an exception which can only be eaten for a day and a night. It says the Gemara, we're going to bring a brayso that is identical to Rabbah and a brayso which is identical to Rabbi Yosef. Simple Gemara. Tanya Kavasi to Rabbah, Tanya Kavasi to Rabbi Yosef. Tanya Kavasi to Rabbah, Yochel Yitzhak V'Chavasi V'Chalos Sedu Kikin Nozit Tamud Lima U'Shmat Mesamatzos. Matzah Mishtames L'Shem Matzah. It has to be God L'Shem Matzah. Yotzos Zu Mishtames L'Shem Matzah L'Shem Zevach. It has to be used for matzah, not for a korban. Tanya Kavasi to Rabbi Yosef, Yochel Yitzhak V'Chavasi V'Chalos Sedu Kikin Nozit Tamud Lima Shiva Somim Matzahs Techilu. Matzah Necheles Shiva Yomim. Yotzos Zu Necheles L'Shiva Lo Yom V'Layla. So if somebody was to say to you, can you use Torah or Kikin Nozit for your matzah for Seder night, what would you say to him? No. You say to him, no. Wait a second, you say to him, no. But when you ask you why, then you say machloikas. What's the machloikas? Rabbi Yosef, because Shivas Yomim and Lechem Torah is only a day and a half. Rabbi says, you have to guard l'shem matzah, not l'shem your own personal thing. And then not l'shem korban. Fei the Gemara, v'teipa kalei melechem oini. Misha necha ba'aninus, yoseh zeh. Can you use Torah and Nozir? Can you eat them when you're noina? No. So this matzah is anyway no good, according to Rabbi Yossi, who said that lechem oini means aninus. Says, well, Yosef zeh shenech ba'aninus b'simcha. Can you eat a korban ba'aninus? The answer is no. You can't eat any korban in oina. How do we know that, by the way? It's a special dvash the Gemara in Yevamah says, if my sheni can't be eaten ba'aninus, kavachim a korban which is more kodesh can't be eaten ba'aninus. So you can't eat a korban when you're noinan. There's one exception, by the way. There's one person who can eat ba'aninus. No, Truma Yelat B'aninus, very good. That's a very important halacha. Truma Yelat B'aninus is an exception. I meant a Kohen Gadol is allowed to eat ba'aninus, and that was by Shivas Miami Loim and not on the Nifta. Okay, advice, you can't eat. Generally, you can't. Sava lo kavakiva daba oniksiv. He doesn't darshan lechem oini because lechem or ba'aninus, a bread that can be eaten ba'aninus. He darshans lechem oini as what? There has to be a poor man's bread. What's a poor man's bread mean? What's the halacha? Which halacha did we learn from that? What halacha did we learn from that? Lechem oni, a matzah which a poor man eats. You can't, which means very good. You can't add oil, honey, or wine. So if you make, let's say you make matzah for Seder night, and you put in a dash of honey, according to Rabbi Kiva, you yotzi mitzvah matzah? No. Not say to that. So he learns it from Lechem Oni. Okay, you learn from Lechem Oni. If that's the case, but typically they have a matzah ashira. It's a matzah ashira because they would add oil to all the matzahs in the Beis Hamikdash. So anyway, you can't use. Why did the Gemara over here tell us? We asked the question: can you use a lechem of a Torah or a kikei nazir for your matzahs? And what did we say? No. We said two reasons: shiva somim, matzah shmur, etc. What do we care? Either way, you can't. Because it's matzah ashir. Omar Shobav Yitzchak Revisi. It was one revis was chalekasi lekama chalas. It was divided by many chalas. So here, those who are good at maths will love it, and those who are not will not enjoy this so much. But we'll just talk about it a little bit. If you understand it, understand it. If not. What the Gemara basically says is they put such a small amount of oil into the matzahs that it did not matter. The quantity of oil in the matters of the Chalis Toida and the Kike Nozir were very, very, very small. Why? A Toida was made out of 40 loaves of bread, 10 of which were chametz, and you didn't add any oil. 30 of them were matzah, which had oil. Of the 30 were matzah, 10 were wafers, 10 were loaves, and 10 were boiled. Of the 10 that were boiled, you used you took a half a lug, and you used half a lug for the 10 that were boiled, and the other half you used for the other 20 chalas. That means for 20 matzahs, you used a quarter of a lug. How much is a quarter of a lug in nowadays measurements? It's either 150 millimeters or 86 millimeters. That's not a lot. Now, how big flour did they use? How much flour did they use for the 20 loaves? How big were the 20 loaves? The answer is, for the 30 loaves, you used an entire ephah. And 10 of them, that's a third, were, we said, for the boil to minus those, don't count those. So we're talking about the other 20. The 20 loaves were made out of 2/3 of an ephah. An ephah is, according to Chazal, 43 kilos of flour. 43 kilos of flour. 2/3 of which were, what's 2/3 of 43? But, no, a bit less than that, 30, about 29. 29, no? 43 minus a third. So it was 43 times 0.666.
28, 38, right?
28. So it's 28 kilos of flour with how much oil? 150. So it's 150. So what would happen was you would have 150 to 26. What? That's right. I know. 28 kilo is 28 kilo of flour, of which 150 of oil. So what was the ratio of oil to flour?
Across the whole thing?
Yes.
You don't need to divide it.
No, 28 kilo and 150. That's right. Just under 5 milliliters of oil, a teaspoon of oil per kilo of flour.
It's like a medicine.
That's right. A teaspoon, a tiny spoon of oil per kilo of flour. So therefore, it's not considered matzah shiur. So it comes out interesting halacha that if you add a tiny amount of oil to your matzahs, it's not a problem lechem shiur. It's bottle. That's right. Rashi goes through this cheshbon. Rashi goes through this cheshbon. Rashi goes through it. Rashi says that's not called wealthy bread. Wealthy bread, you put a bottom. One final question. Anyway, you can't eat it because why can't you use chalos toida kikin nozir for matzahs? We said by Bikurim that you can't use it. Why not? Because it's everywhere. But neither can you eat chalos toida kikin nozir because where can you eat them? You can only eat them in Yerushalayim. So here we have a very, very long Rashi, which goes to a little bit of history and a little bit of halachas. Very, very briefly, we say as follows. There were different periods in the history of Klal Yisrael, and certain times we were not allowed to use bomois, and certain times they were allowed to use bomois, right? Bomois was your own private mizbeach. So in the Mishkan, you were not allowed to use bomois. And then they came to the Gilgal for 14 years, they were allowed to. Then they came to Shiloh, they were not allowed to. How long was the Mishkan of Shiloh for? 369 years. And then they went to Nova Givon, which were for 52 years. 52 years. In Nova and Givon, you were allowed to have bombs. You're allowed to have bombs. That's the first thing. Now, second thing is that the Nova Givon was a bomas tzibur, and everywhere else was a bomas yochid. Now, there's a question there's a Gemara Menachos, as to what exactly, Gemara end of Zvachim, what exactly did you bring on a bomas tzibur? What could you bring? So the question is like this: Korban Pesach, everybody agreed you went to Nova Givon. But what about, for example, chalos toida or kikin nozir? There's one man that says that no, you can't bring it there. Why not? The reason being, since you've got any time you want to bring it, why bring it now? Wait until there's a proper Mishkan built and then bring it. And there's another man that says, no, you're allowed to bring it already there. According to the man, the Omar, that you're allowed to bring chalos toida or kikin nozir at the time when Nova Givon, where there was no proper Mishkan. So then there was no problem with Chumash V'Seichim. Why? Because where were you allowed to eat it? anywhere you wanted in Eretz Yisrael. For Tosfos, that's the case by Bikurim as well. Says Tosfos, no, because Bikurim was something which was not a fixed time, and Bikurim was not. They did not bring Bikurim in Nova Givon. Why did not bring the Bikurim in Nova Givon? What? That's why you need a special possible Bikurim. They did not bring Bikurim in Nova Givon. So for 52 years, Christ did not bring any. They did not bring any Bikurim. That's right. Right. So Rashi tells us a lot of the history of it. Okay. Does anybody know how Nov was destroyed? Unfortunately, Sholem Melech destroyed Nov. How was Givon destroyed? That's a trick question. It was never actually destroyed. The Melech dismantled it. No, that's something else. And what happened to Shiur? Who destroyed Shiur? The Plishtim destroyed it when they captured it. Okay. Rashi goes through all of this. The halacha is, since you're allowed to bring a kikar, let me take this. Nowadays, that you can't bring the kikar nozir anywhere except for Yerushalayim, we don't need a drosha to tell you that you can't use the kikar nozir. Why not? Because you can't chomesh v'seichem. When did we need Rabban Rav Yosef's logic of Shivas Yomi, and it's not Shmur Matzah? That's only for the time of Nova Givon. That means only for. That means then we needed to be told that you still can't use it for matzahs. Okay. Now, what this is, we said like this: a person who has to be a common Torah has to be 40 loaves. That's a big business. So what sometimes people would do is they'd bake it themselves and they prepare it a few days before they become common Torah. Other people would want to make a business out of it. So what they would do is they would bake these matzahs and loaves, and then they would say, go to Yerushalayim and say to people, do you want to buy them off me? Now, what happens if somebody's selling them on the market? Can he use it for matzahs? That means he's not made it for his own korban, but rather he's planning to sell it in the market. Can he use it for matzahs? Yes or no? Now, Mishnah says yes, he can. And now the Gemara is going to discuss why. Why suddenly, if you're selling them, is it permitted? So Gemara says, Tanya below shatis abeleza. Ma'ush yitzad b'chalas tidu kiknos. Can you be yotze with your own chalas tidu kiknos? Omali lo shomati. I don't know. If you make it for your own purposes, you can't use them. If you go to sell them, when I told it to him, to Abeleza, there was now two versions how Abeleza replied. In one version, he was very happy. In another version, he was very irritated. That means he was told like this: if you make it for yourself, can you use it? No. If you make it to sell, can you use it? Yes. So he went and told this to Abeleza. That's what Moshe told Moshe Rabbeinu in Sinai. This chiluk between personal chalas Torah and sellable chalas Torah. Some say, is this something which we were told as a promise? Did Moshe Rabbeinu come up with this? No. So why in the world do you have to come up with a logic? That means either Rabelez was very impressed that he was told there's a difference between chalas Torah and kikar which belong to you, or chalas Torah and kikar which don't belong to you, and he was very impressed that indeed Hashem told this to Moshe. Or he was told Hashem never said this to Moshe, so you've got to come up with some reason. So the Lord says, I mean, like this: when a person makes his own chalas Torah kikar, he's got the problem that either he's thinking only for korban Torah, which is no good because it's not shmur matzah, or he's thinking to be able to bring it as a korban, it's no good because 7 days and it's only a day and a half. But when a person goes to the marketplace to sell, so he's thinking to himself like this: if somebody wants to buy it for korban Torah or nazir, fine. But if not, what's going to happen to it? I'm going to use it for matzahs. So therefore, in the back of his mind, he's always thinking that maybe it's not going to be a Torah, so therefore you can use it for matzah. And this is why I didn't want to answer your question before. Because here the Mefarshim asked, so why can't somebody who's making it for himself also have kavanah that he'll use it for matzahs? That means, just like the person saying it in the market is thinking to himself, I might end up not being able to sell it, and I'll end up for matzahs. So this is a big question. So the Shash asked it and others ask it. So some Mefarshim say like this, that we pass that by Deraisa there's no brain. So when a person goes out to the shuk to sell it, He's not defining anything because people buying it, some people might buy it for a Torah, some people might buy it for a Nozi, and some people might buy it for Matzah. So therefore, he's not made a decision to choose it for what? Hashem came by a person who's done it for a Torah. If after suddenly says, you know what, I don't want it for a Torah, for a Kik and Nozi, since in his mind he had designated for one thing, it's a much greater designation, and therefore we don't allow him to use it for Matzah. That's okay. It's not. That is a question which can be mined. Okay, we'll stop here. Actually, next more is a whole new topic completely. It's all about more. Any questions? You could do. Oh, I could put you on mute now. How's it go?
Yeah, box on here.
Oh, you can hear. Oh, you can hear.
Yeah, box on, yeah.
Very good. Okay, very good night. Let's talk with everything. Shkech, everybody. Right. Why? Wait, Friday. Wait, so let's work it out. No, tomorrow is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. No, it's Motzei Shabbos.